Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the top 5 most expensive end game upgrades to make. So for reference, we're going to be going over realistic upgrades that end game players do make. We're not going to be using the maximum ceiling of upgrades for this video. We're really only going to be using what a realistic end game min-maxer could potentially do. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. Starting off at number 5, we're going to be going with the Monster Park badge. This is an item that a lot of people have started to buy more and more as they progressed further and further into the game. And this is a badge that gives you 7 all stats, 7 attack, 7 magic attack, and 10% IED. The reason why a lot of people have started to buy this badge is, for one, the Genesis badge that drops from Black Mage is nearly impossible to get, having only 1 clear per month. And 2, this badge actually becomes BIS at 9 set if you are wearing a black heart. And for that reason, that is why the 7 days badge from Monster Park that costs 105 bill ranks 5 on this list. Coming in at number 4, we're going to be going over min-maxing flames. Now, yes, min-maxing flames could go much further down on this list and arguably at the number 1 spot of this list, but like I said in the beginning of this video, we are only going to be talking about realistic endgame upgrades that people actually go for at the endgame level. We're not going to be talking about the highest ceiling. So for that reason, that's why we're going to be talking about min-maxing flames at the number 4 spot. For reference, we're going to be going over arcanes, pitch boss items at level 160, and also CRA items. Going for a 170 flame score on an arcane item such as a glove, cape, or shoe, you can expect the cost to be around 85 bill. Now, obviously, these upgrades can range from the absolute minimum to the absolute maximum, so hope that you fall within the average. Moving on from the arcanes, we're going to be going over pitch boss items like Berserk and Eye Patch, and going for something like a 90 and 6 flame with 150 flame score is going to cost you roughly about 90 bill. And then moving on to arcanes, we're going to be using 130 flame score as our average, and that is going to cost about roughly 24 bill. Yes, you could go with Eternals, but at the time of recording of this video, majority of people do not have Eternals, so we're going to be going with CRA. And yes, of course, you could go for a higher flame score on your CRA, but again, we're only going to be talking about realistic end game upgrades that people try to go for in the game. And for that reason, that is why min-maxing flames comes in at number 4 on the list. Following number 4 on the list, we're going to go into number 3, which is going to go over double priming gear for stat. And what I mean by that is only 36% main stat, not 33% with an all stat line in there that makes it a fake double prime. We're only going to be going over true double prime items in this list. So starting off with accessories, these are roughly going to cost about an average of 90 bill per item, and this is talking about things like rings, face and eye. From my experience, double priming gear can be a hit or miss. You can either hit the very bottom threshold or you can get very unlucky and hit the top threshold. I've had items that go double prime in 25 bill, and then I've also had items that have spent 150 bill just to get double prime on an accessory item. So when double priming items, understand that the range is extremely wide and you might get super lucky on some, but you also might get very, very unlucky. So if you're thinking about going into double priming items, make sure you have a lot of money and you're okay with potentially getting unlucky doing so. And as you can see, it's about the same cost to double prime an accessory item versus an item like an arcane shoe. The range doesn't really change too much, and the expected cost is about the same, although I would argue that shoes are a bit more challenging than accessories. But going off of the calculator, it's roughly about the same, and it's probably about the same scenario as I mentioned before. You can get extremely lucky or you can get extremely unlucky. That's just how RNG works. So just before we get into number 2, we're going to be going over our honorable mention, which is going to be 10k Legion. This is something that a lot of endgame players start to do after they finish leveling their main to anywhere from 280 to 285 and they finish their pots, flames, etc. But a lot of players will go and they'll try to level up relevant characters on the Legion grid, such as main stat characters, Wild Hunter, Kana, IED Legion blocks, and they'll try to get their blocks from 200 to 250. And although this may seem like an extremely small upgrade, it is. But at the end of the day, when you are min-maxing, you're going to take whatever upgrades you can get for free, and this is going to be one of them. And for that reason, that is why going for 10k Legion comes in at our honorable mention spot on the list. So now moving into the top 2 most expensive upgrades to make inside of MapleStory at an end game level. Double priming WSE. Weapon, secondary, and emblem. Arguably one of the hardest upgrades to make and objectively the most expensive upgrade to make when going for double primes. So to start off, we're going to talk about the weapon. And for the weapon's potential, we're going to use a strict 36% attack. We're not going to talk about going for boss and attack. We're only going to talk about 36% attack because attack is the most valuable line on your WSE and your weapon gives you 13%, and that's why we're going to use 36% as the threshold. The average cost to go for 36% attack on your weapon is going to cost 579 bill with a median cost of 401 bill. I've heard of a lot of people who've gone for WSE double priming, and some people they hit in their weapon in 30 bill, and others it takes them upwards to 1T miso cost. So this is an extremely expensive upgrade to make inside of the game. Moving on from the weapon, we're going to talk about the secondary, and for the secondary we're going to use 2 examples. We're going to talk about 33% attack, and then we are also going to talk about 40% boss, 12% attack, 9% attack, because for your secondary, you do have a bit of wiggle room and there are a few options that you can go with. To go for 33% attack on your secondary, objectively the most expensive item inside of your WSE to double prime, this is going to cost a whopping 886 bill on average with a median cost of 614 bill. The only thing that's nice about double priming your secondary is that you do have a few alternatives, so you're not strictly locked into going for one exact potential, but regardless, this upgrade is extremely expensive. Now moving on to the cheaper option for the secondary, which is going to be 40% boss and 21% attack. This has an average cost of 436 bill with a median cost of 302 bill, but nonetheless an extremely expensive upgrade to make. And last but not least, the emblem. And not just any emblem, this is only going to be the Mitra's Rage, the level 200 pitch boss emblem that you get from Saren. And we're only going to be using one standard for this, and that is going to be 36% attack, coming in with an average cost of 480 bill with a median cost of 333 bill. This is an extremely expensive upgrade to make, and with the WSE together totaling over 2T on average to double prime, this is a great reason for why double priming your WSE comes in at number 2 on the list for most expensive end game upgrades to make. Now, we've made it through the top 4. We've made it through the honorable mention, but number 1 blows all of these away. If you guys thought that the Monster Park badge was expensive coming in at 105 bill, if you guys thought that the WSE was expensive coming in at 2T, the next upgrade that we're going to be talking about blows these out of the water. And for the number 1 spot in the list of the most expensive end game upgrades to make inside of MapleStory, Familiars takes this spot by a landslide. Let's break it down a little bit. And for all the people who argue this isn't an upgrade that actually costs any miso, it's a system that takes an extremely long time to do, and 90% of all endgame players trying to min-max their gear try to min-max their familiars, and for that reason, that is why it's going to come in at number 1 on this spot, and that is why we are going to talk about it. So with that being said, let's get into why this is the number 1 spot on this list. So for this breakdown, we're going to be using my anecdotal experiences with farming familiars and the data that I recorded for myself personally. So for myself personally, on no totems, I got about 326 grays and about 57 blue familiars. For this example, I'm going to round this number down and say you get about 353 familiars per WAP on average. Like I said, we're going to do a bit of rounding here for math just to make things easier. And the average cost per unique on average over the course of 200 unique familiars was about 353 familiars, which makes the average cost of 1 unique familiar about 2 hours. So let's talk about familiars themselves then. So let's talk about the familiars that most endgame players try to go for. The 40% boss fam, the familiar that you all know that everybody sees, trying to get that 120% boss, which every endgame player tries to go for. The expected number of unique familiars to get one 40% boss fam is going to be 651 unique familiars. The expected number of hours for one 40% boss fam is going to be 1,302 hours. Now, what does that mean? Let's calculate the amount of misos farmed to get one 40% boss fam. And this is going to come out to a whopping 846 bill on average, approximate estimate, for one singular unique boss fam. This is an extreme amount of time, but we're going to take it even further here. We're going to calculate the amount of misos farmed and the amount of hours taken to get a hybrid boss fam, which so many people talk about going for at the end game level. So again, we're going to use the same rounded down average of 353 familiars per WAP, using the average cost per unique familiar being 353, making one unique familiar cost 2 hours of time to farm. This number is just laughable when I go over it, but we're going to go over it, guys. And we're going to talk about a 60% boss fam. 40% boss top line, 20% boss secondary line. The expected number of unique familiars is 66,595 familiars. Using the math we did before, we know that 2 hours equals one unique familiar. So what does this mean? The expected number of hours to farm one singular 60% boss fam is going to give us 133,190 hours to farm one singular 60% boss fam. This is why people say going for hybrid boss fams is nearly impossible. But we're going to go one step further, and we're going to talk about how much misos you would actually farm while going for this familiar. So using 650 mil per hour as our baseline variable, you can expect over the course of 133,000 hours to farm 86T while doing so. And for that reason, that is why familiars goes at the objective number one spot on this list for the most expensive upgrades that endgame players go for in MapleStory. That is going to wrap it up for this video today. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. I love talking about min-maxing gear. As you guys know myself, I'm an extreme min-maxer in this game. I love talking about it. I love going over the numbers. If you guys have any ideas or any thoughts about something that I missed inside of this list, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.